Welcome back to Season 2 of We Talk Money. I'm your host, Robert Geniak, author of the international bestseller Rich is a State of Mind. And my returning guest at this time is Todd Hopper, certified financial planner. Todd, welcome back to Season 2.
Thanks for having me back, Robert.
In Season 1, we talked about the most common question you get asked, which is TFSA or RSP.
That's correct.
In today's show, we're going to talk about the second most common question you get asked, and that question is?
Do I take CPP early or not?
Now, I'm 57 years old, so CPP is on the horizon for me. I wouldn't have thought about it a decade ago, but I'll admit, I start thinking about it now. And there's probably nothing with more misconceptions around it than CPP. So, give me the basic facts about the Canada Pension Plan.
Yeah, there is a misconception going back probably 20 or 30 years that CPP isn't fiscally sound. In 1997, they did a bunch of enhancements to it from an investment perspective and from a funding perspective. Okay. And 20 years later now, I would say that the CPP pension fund is fiscally sound for sure.
So for the vast majority of us, we shouldn't worry about whether or not it'll be there when we go to use it.
No, it is fiscally sound and should be there for all of us to collect the benefits on it.
If I want to take CPP early, what's the earliest I can take it, and what's the impact on the plan if I do take it at that age?
Well, you can take it as early as 60. You'll have a 0.6% deduction in your benefit for every month you take it prior to 65.
Okay.
So if you were to take it early at 60 and you were expecting a $1,000 benefit at 65, you could expect a $640 benefit or a 36% deduction on your total benefit early at age 60.
And would that benefit, it stays at that number all the way through for as long as you're collected? It doesn't climb at some point?
It stays there. There is a inflationary enhancement as you go, but otherwise it's fixed at that amount, yes.
So when a client comes to you and says, what do I do? How do you counsel them on whether or not they should start at age 60?
Well, it's a good question. There are a lot of factors that go into making those decisions, and I guess the quick answer is it depends. It depends on your situation, right?
It's the number one answer in financial planning is it depends.
Yeah, so sitting down with your financial advisor, really figuring out what your situation is, the big question is life expectancy. Do you have good genetics, right? I mean, nobody knows the answer to that one, but it's important. So do you plan to live or do you foresee yourself living a long, healthy life or a shortened life? Life expectancy for men is 80, 84 for women. That number is expected to climb by 2 years over the next 15 years. The other thing to factor in is if you are healthy at 60, you have a very high probability of living beyond 75. Right. Yeah, so that's another. If you're sitting around here talking to me at age 60 and you're healthy now, good chances are you're going to have a long, healthy life, and that's going to maybe factor into your whether I take it early or not.
Now, as I tell people all the time, I'm not a numbers guy, but this kind of decision really does kind of come down to numbers. And if I know there's some quarter, they call it the magic crossover point, that between taking it at 65 or taking it at 60, how does that magic number formula work?
Yeah, so if you run the math on it and you want to take it early or not, the crossover or the magic age number is 75. So if you know you can live longer than 75, it might be a good idea to wait and collect the higher benefit for a longer period of time. If you know that you're going to not make it past 75, then it might be good to take early and collect as while you can get it.
Because in theory, you could pass away at 64 having never collected CPP at all.
That's correct.
And then some people would go, well, you never got anything out of the plan that you paid into your entire life.
That's right. So nobody knows when they're going to pass, obviously, and what their life expectancy is. So that's one factor of many variables into making the decision, but it's really hard to predict that, obviously.
And one of the things that I think sometimes confuses people, they hear early is 60, standard is 65. But you can go in between, right? You can start at 62 or 64 or 63. It's not, if I don't take it at 60, I've got to wait 5 more years,
That's
right?
correct, yes. So like I said, it's a 0.6% deduction for every month prior to 65. So you could definitely go at 62 or 63 and then do the math on that. If it's 3 years, that's 36 months at a 0.6% reduction, and you would have a deduction based on just those months prior to 65.
Well, I think one of the things that our viewers are finding out from this, Todd, is that there's a lot of things to consider when we look at when to take CPP and its impact on our future earnings. And we're going to continue our discussion about CPP after this short break.
Windsor started a tradition way back of giving us great barbecue north of the border, and you can taste that tradition when you come to Tommy's Barbecue. Dive into Tommy's rotisserie-style ribs and chicken, along with the crinkle-cut fries, coleslaw, and the original hot and sweet sauces. Plus all those amazing desserts like Black Forest cake and strawberry cheesecake. Taste the tradition and so much more at Tommy's Barbecue, 999 Erie Street East. See you there, Windsor!
Welcome back to We Talk Money. My guest today is Todd Hopper, Certified Financial Planner, and just before the break we were talking about whether or not you should take CPP early, what the ramifications are for what you'll be receiving from CPP, and I just want to continue on with one quick question about that. What if I start collecting at 60 but I'm still working? Is that even an option?
It is an option, yes. You can collect your benefit and then continue your contributory period until 65. So because you're working, you'll still be contributing,
Right.
and then they'll readjust your benefit once you hit retirement based on those 5 years of contributions.
So in theory it could drive that number up by a tiny bit,
That's correct, yes.
giving you more money later.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So maybe we've decided we're not going to go early,
Okay.
pre-65.
Yeah.
We turn 65, we apply for CPP. What happens now? What do we expect?
Well, at that point, they're going to make their calculation. And on that note, you can go to Service Canada and get your number from your CPP estimated benefit.
Now, do we have to wait till we're a certain age to get the
No,
number?
you can get that at any time. And there's actually a calculator on there that you can do by yourself, or you can request it direct with Service Canada.
Okay.
But basically what they're doing is they're taking a 40-year contributory period and calculating what your CPP benefit will be. They take your 8 lowest years of income and drop that out,
Okay.
and then that's how they come up with your CPP benefit.
Okay. So we're age 65, we're starting to take it, but now there's an entire faction because of longevity or because of how we may have prepared for retirement outside of CPP. Some people are waiting. So what happens when we wait? How long can we wait? And is there a number that says you have to start now even if you don't want to?
Yeah, so they changed the rules a couple years back, and there's a benefit to waiting. So now you have a 0.7% increase in your benefit for every month that you wait beyond 65.
Okay.
So if you waited to 70, that would be a 42% increase in your benefit.
That's pretty significant.
Pretty significant. So if you were expecting a $1,000 benefit at 65, you could expect $1,420
Right.
at 70, not even factoring inflationary enhancement as well.
Right. Could we wait till we're 75?
No. 70 would be the period where you would have to start taking it, whatever your benefit would be, they would start paying it into your bank account at that point.
So in short, it really does become a numbers game, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to sit down with your financial advisor and figure out what your situation is, your income, your contributory period, aside from the predicting what your lifespan's going to be, which nobody can predict really, sitting down and figuring out that math is important.
When we're trying to factor this into maybe what we've set aside in an RSP or a TFSA and whether or not we have a company pension or not, does the company pension have any impact on CPP? Does the government come along and say, well, you've got a good pension plan, we're not going to give you what you think you should, versus somebody who has no pension plan from an employer and is relying on CPP? No,
CPP is definitely a standalone feature. It's the math is the math. It's based on your contributions. Okay. You're entitled to your benefit. So there's no clawback or anything like that. So there's no factors outside that will limit it at all. So that's important to know. The only thing I would say that might matter is as it ties to your pensions is what income tax bracket that you're going to be, right?
Okay.
That would be the only factor that you might consider.
Now, sometimes, particularly with the old age security, they talk about a clawback. That's regarding OAS. That doesn't affect CPP at all, right? Once you start getting it, you get it.
That's correct.
Doesn't matter where your income or tax bracket is.
That's correct. It's a totally separate topic, maybe for another day, but yeah, there's no clawback on CPP. CPP, you're entitled to your benefit because those are your contributions and your employers that have been made over that 40-year period.
Okay. So one of the things I think we've been able to discuss today is that there are a lot of different things that come into whether or not you take CPP early, whether or not you take it at the standard average of 65, or whether you wait. What I'd like you to do for our viewers, if you wouldn't mind, Todd, is give us a quick recap summary as we get ready to wrap up this episode.
Yeah, no problem. I would say I hate to put general rules of thumb in place because it really does depend on your situation. But if I had to put 2 general rules of thumb, I would say if you're healthy and you're still working, you're probably best to wait.
Okay.
That's the first rule of thumb. And if you're not healthy and you're not working, then it's probably best to take your benefit early. Those would be the 2 general rules of thumb based on everything we've discussed already.
And I guess one of the things that always comes into it as well is, do you need the money?
Absolutely, yeah.
If you've got alternate sources of income, maybe you've got a side hustle on the side, a hobby that's providing a bit of income, you've got money that you've set aside on your own with your RSP, TFSA, maybe you've got a pension. It's, to me, as somebody who's never done what you do, one of the most confusing things about trying to figure out what our financial future should look like, which is why I've always been a fan of sitting down with a financial professional like yourself and going, what's the right answer to this question? And we know that the first answer we're ever going to get is?
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. Sitting down with your financial advisor is really important because they can clarify what your situation is. What's the right decision for you? And that's the most important because it does depend on your genetics. It depends on your income, your RSPs and pensions that you've saved, your tax bracket. All of those factors play into it. And that decision needs to be made for you, not because of something you've read in the Globe and Mail that told you what you should do.
What you should do.
Yeah.
One of the things we try to do here at We Talk Money is get some clarity on the whole concept of it depends as it relates to personal finance and all of the things that affect your personal financial life. This has been the inaugural episode of Season 2 of We Talk Money. I'm your host, Robert Geniak. For the viewers out there, I want to thank you for watching and allowing us to have Season 2. If you'd like to catch up on all of the previous episodes of We Talk Money, you can do so at we-tv.ca. If you've got questions, comments, we'd love to hear from you. And you can reach us at info@we-tv.ca. And until next time, thank you for watching.